All right, welcome everyone. I'm Ilise Benun of marketing-mentor.com. And this is the March office hours for the Simplest Marketing Plan. And today, I want to focus on follow-up. And the reason I'm thinking about follow-up is because sometimes people ask me, what is the biggest mistake you see creative professionals making when it comes to their marketing? And I would say it's a lack of follow-up. And I know that there are all sorts of reasons people have for not following up, all sorts of excuses people have for not following up. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of them. And first, though, I want to start with the tools from the Simplest Marketing Plan, because if you have not opened it, if you have not read through it, if you have not watched any of the videos that are embedded in it, then you may not really be getting what these tools are, which I understand, because it does take some focus to do. So strategic networking is the first one, and that is basically like going to a party. It's basically like finding your people, whether online or off, and you don't know if they're going to be good referral sources. You don't know if they're going to be good clients or prospects or just good people with resources who can help you. But that's what networking is for. And the strategic part is essentially to choose carefully who you're looking for, because you need to know who you're looking for. Those are your ideal clients. That's your target market. And when you follow up on networking, on strategic networking, one of the best tools to use is LinkedIn. Now, the second tool is targeted outreach, which a lot of people get really confused about also. Oh my God, what is targeted outreach? Well, it used to be called cold calling, and it used to be called warm email prospecting. But targeted outreach, to me, is basically reaching out one at a time to the people you most want to work with, who you think you are the most competent and most confident about working with, and letting them know that you've done your homework, you've chosen them carefully, and here's why you think it's a good fit, if the timing is right, if they have a need. And you can't just reach out once and assume they're going to respond, because most people don't respond to the very first thing that you send them. And so you have to follow up. So it's very useful when it comes to targeted outreach. And finally, content marketing, or what I think of as pain point content marketing, or high quality pain point content marketing, is when you use the content that you create, whether it's a blog post or an article or a podcast or an infographic or any piece of useful, helpful content that speaks to the needs of your target market, and you share it in your follow-up and content to make that connection. All right, so 3 marketing tools is what I've distilled it down to. That's all you need to do if you do it in a way that connects the dots on your target market: strategic networking, targeted outreach, and high quality pain point content marketing. So when I talk about follow-up, I'm talking about following up networking, I'm following up outreach, and I'm also following up people who are further along in your pipeline, who you have perhaps had the money conversation with, perhaps have even submitted a proposal to, and now you're waiting to see what's going to happen. Is it going to come through? And that especially is when follow-up is required. And Andy Brennitz, who is my special guest today, and who will be sharing one of his hacks about follow-up, wrote an article that I will also share called Follow-Up, The Fortune is in the Follow-Up, because I do think that's true. And as I said, the biggest mistake people make is that they don't follow up because they've got all sorts of beliefs. Actually, there are 3 things that I think get in the way of people not following up. The first one is beliefs that you have about what's going to happen or what people are going to think when you follow up, right? And I'll go into a few of those. The second thing that gets in the way is just the fact that you don't remember. Somehow it falls off your calendar. You conveniently forget to follow up. This happens all the time. And the third reason you don't follow up is because you don't know what to say. And the truth is, it kind of doesn't matter what you say as long as you do the follow-up. That's the whole point about the marketing. But I'm going to share with you one of my favorite things to say when I follow up these days. The goal of follow-up is to show you are interested, to show your enthusiasm, to show that you are available, and to show that you are serious. All of these things come through in your follow-up. When you don't follow up, it actually also speaks volumes. It says, I'm not interested. It says, I'm not available. And it says, I'm not serious. Now, I know that you think they're going to think you're bothering them. They're going to think you're slimy. They're going to think you're desperate because you're following up. They may. It doesn't matter, actually. I don't care what people think when I follow up, because I know that I'm doing it because I'm serious, because I'm interested, and because I'm available. And that is what you want to communicate. And that is what is possible to communicate when you follow up. And again, lack thereof says the opposite. Don't forget that. So let's just talk briefly about these three things. And then I'm going to hand it over to Andy, who is going to share his hack. So the beliefs, as I said, these are things we tell ourselves about what's going to happen, otherwise known as making stuff up. And often I find myself saying to clients, please stop making stuff up because you don't know. Right? So the belief that you're going to be pushy, the belief that you're going to be slimy, the belief that you're going to annoy them, stop. It doesn't matter. The people who have a need and who are in their moment of need want to know that you're available, serious, and interested. Now, forgetting is interesting, and I've been studying memory lately because I'm just fascinated by the brain, as I've said before. And apparently there's something called prospective memory, which is about remembering things in the future. How do you remember things in the future? Well, we have a bunch of technology actually that solves that memory problem. And Andy's going to tell you a little bit about that too. But I find it really interesting that people, again, conveniently forget to follow up because it's fallen off their calendar, right? You can use the technology and still not follow up because of the beliefs that we tell ourselves, right? All of these things are interconnected. And then finally, that you don't know what to say. I'll give you two examples. When you're following up on a proposal, right? So this is someone who you've had an investment of time with. You have spent time with them. You have put time into a proposal. You have sent it to them. And now you're waiting to hear. And I know it's really discourteous, uncourteous, discourteous when they don't respond, when they never respond. And believe me, that happens a lot. Sorry, that's the way things are these days, right? So don't take it personally, but don't let it prevent you from following up. And the phrase I like to use these days is, how are things progressing with that project we talked about? Are things progressing? We don't want to say, do you want me? Right? That would be slimy. That would be desperate. We don't even necessarily want to say, have you made a decision yet? Because they may or may not have. Is this project still happening? How are things progressing? These are questions you can ask in your follow-up, and you can ask them over and over. That's what I do, right? Because things continue to progress. It doesn't have to be a long thing, just 2 lines. My follow-up messages are 2 lines long. Now, when you're following up on outreach, the targeted outreach, these are people who you have not invested much in, and they have invested nothing, and they don't know you from Adam, as they say. So we want to make sure that what we're saying is just a friendly reminder of the fact that you are there, that you are interested, that you are available, and that you are enthusiastic. And if the timing is right, they will respond. And if it's not, you're not going to take it personally, and you're not going to assume anything. You're not going to make anything up, and you're going to close the loop with them. And this is all part of the prospect tracker, which is in the Simplest Marketing Plan. And I can show that later if people don't know where to find it. And the way to do that is simply to say, I'm sure you're really busy. I would like to stay in touch, and I'm going to send you my email newsletter unless I hear from you otherwise. Right? This is a little debatable. People in countries beyond the US have laws against this type of thing. I understand that. But the idea is that you want to stay in touch with the people who, even if they have not said yes yet. And you can do that in many different ways, and they could be as personalized as possible. But the main takeaway from this idea is that follow-up really is the key to marketing. It's where the fortune is. And you have to get over all of these things that we put in our own way